Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So last week or a few days ago we had our first snow of sort of winter of 2021-2022 here in Ireland. It doesn't actually snow here that much, even though we're quite far north. Probably as far north or maybe further north than many Canadian cities. But we don't get the snow that you would have in Canada every year. It's very rare, for example, to have a white Christmas here. It's more likely to have a white Easter, actually. The only reason I'm telling you all about the weather is because there was a bit of snow, it sort of inspired me to do like a wintry landscape. I tried one last year using watercolor and I wasn't that happy with the final result. I wasn't happy at all with the final result, to be honest, actually. This year, I was going to try it again using a slightly different palette, a selection of colors, but I'm almost finished all of my watercolor paper and I don't want to buy any more just yet. I'm trying to ration the amount of watercolor paper that I use in a year, simply because for me it's so expensive. So I decided instead to use charcoal. And actually charcoal is quite a good medium for this sort of subject because the final drawing is going to be quite minimalist. I'm using a lot of the white paper. I'm just leaving the paper white to kind of suggest snow on the ground. And then the hedgerows and trees and things, I'll just use the charcoal to kind of suggest those. The charcoal itself is just willow charcoal. Willow charcoal is very good. It's very soft and you can get these really black values with it. You can also, as you can see, smudge it and move it around. So using the willow charcoal, it's somewhere in between drawing and painting, at least in my opinion. You're drawing on the marks, the shapes, the lines with the charcoal, but then when you smudge it and move it around, it almost feels like you're painting. So in that sense, it's an interesting medium to try and to use. Other things this week, I was thinking about if you knew someone who is interested in getting into art but wasn't really sure where to start. You know, it can be a bit overwhelming. You think all the different mediums that are available. Should you learn to draw and then learn to paint? If so, how do you do that? What about subject matter? Is it better to learn portraits or figure drawing or landscape? There's so many things that you have to choose when you're getting started. I think it can be a bit overwhelming for a lot of people. One of the things that I remember reading before was this idea that with a lot of drawing and painting, if you can get the hang of composition, good composition can kind of compensate for a lack of experience or a lack of skill with any particular medium. And I think it's something that I agree with, at least at the moment. I may change my mind in the future, but at the moment, I definitely think that good composition can make or break a painting or a drawing. And I'm saying that from sort of personal experience. So this week I've done quite a few charcoal sketches and drawings. Some of them I like the final results. I think they're successful in that sense. And other ones, I didn't like the final results. No, it's not because from, say, Monday to Tuesday, I suddenly became much more proficient using charcoal. My level of ability is the same on the Monday and the Tuesday. But one thing that definitely did change was the composition. They're all landscapes. That hasn't changed either. But the composition changes. So I definitely feel that if I was going to advise someone how to get started, definitely look into the ideas of composition. And this applies, whatever your subject matter is. Composition is important, I think, but especially with landscapes, I think. One other thing I should say, another piece of material I used in this drawing was, and you saw me using it just there, it's a kind of white pastel, a kind of Conte pastel, so a very hard pastel. It's not a soft pastel. And I just use it for putting in a few little details and things. For those sort of details, you can use a kneaded eraser with the charcoal. It sort of lifts the charcoal off the paper and exposes the white paper underneath. I just happen to have the Conte pastel sitting around, so I used that. Both of them are fine. So this is the final drawing. Maybe the only other thing I would point out is something that again, getting back to this idea of composition, something I always try to achieve is the feeling of depth in the landscape. I think it's something that's kind of important, at least for me, in a landscape. So the field in the foreground is big. The middle ground field on the left-hand side is sort of triangular shaped thing, not as big. And then the 4 fields or so in the background are quite small in comparison. And that sort of linear perspective helps to create that sense of depth, which is, again, for me, it's an important part of the composition. Also on the left-hand side near the foreground, little bits of variation in values, putting in lighter values on top of the darker hedgerow. Again, that just suggests something in front of something else, which gives that, again, feeling of depth. And a few little lines with the Conte pastel, the white Conte pastel, suggests a few details in the foreground. The only other thing I wanted to mention this week was I have started a Patreon page. So if you've watched a lot of YouTube, you're maybe familiar with this idea of Patreon. Basically what I have is a few notes for videos that are on the channel. They're just additional notes, some ideas and things that, may be of some use to some people. I haven't gone into very complicated systems. Patreon allows you to set up these different ranks and different prices that people can pay. I wanted to keep everything simple and I think more affordable. So the price, I've tried to keep it low, and each week or so I'll add more notes and things. At the moment the videos are the videos on YouTube, but again in the future, if people are interested in this, I'll start to add other videos that are not available on YouTube. They're only available on the Patreon page. There's a link in the description below if anybody's interested. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.